We saw the interception, the pick six from Lavelle Bailey the other day, and the reaction to him making that pick and taking it back the other way, and the way he was mobbed by his teammates, and it was presented as evidence that, hey, you can tell this is a team that's got a real spirit about them. There's a real camaraderie around this team. There's a real hunger with this team. It's a young team. This is going to probably be, when it's all said and done, we crunch all the numbers, this is probably going to be one of the youngest Bronco teams to go into a season in quite some time. And Sean has talked about throughout the preseason the idea that youth and hunger can be a real powerful combination. How much stock do you put in the idea that there is a real good culture and chemistry with this team right now? How real do you think it is?
I think it's becoming more real. And part of that is because you have a centerpiece. If Bo Nix can be the tide that raises all boats, then some culture can start to develop because, look, Sean's got that one right. Well, he's got this right. And you have a lot of younger players. Last year, they were the 10th oldest team in the NFL. What does that also mean? You've got veterans who you're probably paying a lot more to than guys you would on a rookie contract, and you're going nowhere. It's time to reset. It's part of the reason why we've had frustration with this franchise by and large for the better part of the last decade, because they've just been trying to piecemeal, somewhat of a quote-unquote contender back together with Band-Aids, and that ain't working. And to really hit a firm reset, you do have to go younger. You do have to change up the leadership. And to deal with Russell Wilson's dead cap, you kind of got to, move on from some pieces that maybe you wouldn't otherwise, but you just don't have a choice. And you know what? It's a good excuse to reset anyway, because you weren't doing anything with the guys you had to get rid of in the first place.
I think it's a testament to, ever since they got together for strength and conditioning way back in, April, and then through the OTAs, the mini camp, on throughout training camp, they've done a nice job inside that building of creating the right kind of message. And you know what? I think this team absolutely buys into the idea right now of why not us. Let's go out, shock the world. One thing about having a lot of young players, they don't know any better, right? They haven't been worn down, beaten down by what the NFL is all about. And so there's probably still almost a collegiate type enthusiasm about what this team can accomplish. But is it one of those cultures that have taken place that's so, I guess, has it put down enough roots so that if you get off to a rough start and the wins don't accompany this newfound culture, will that culture remain strong? Will that camaraderie remain steadfast if they start the season 1-3, for example? That's my only question. I like it. I think it's an awesome thing. I just wonder how solid it is, and can it hold up if you're not paying it off with victories in the early part of the season?
Well, not yet, because they don't have enough banked yet. They don't have enough hay in the barn on that one. I mean, they're just getting started.
Yeah, but have you really built something then, if it can be chipped away and falter in the first 4 games of the season if you're not winning games?
If I could build a house in a day, that would be great. That's just not how this whole thing works. There's a process to all of this. You have to earn things to be able to learn from them, and you move on and you grow with it. So I do believe there's a more competitive nature. Like, this team is battling. They battled in that joint practice against the Packers. The Packers, I thought, had them for the better part of the first half of that practice. They came back, looked like the much better team at the end, right? We've seen Bo Nix, at least to a very micro degree, be able to look some adversity in the face, with turnovers, and then in the Indianapolis game, the bad decision he made last week against the Cardinals. So it's just obviously such a small sample size and really not representative of what they're going to see. It's impossible to say that, which is why I would say, no, they're just starting this. It's not rock solid yet, but I'll say that it looks like you could have something here if you keep going in this direction.
On the subject of you could have something here, we were talking about this last week, And we got into the discussion. It was when we were discussing Patrick Surtain and how do you look at his value? How do you measure it? Are you going to run out and make him the highest paid corner in the NFL? Is that a wise investment? And we got to talking about what are the most important positions to find, right, in the NFL beyond quarterback. And we kind of went with the idea that in no particular order, it was cornerback, edge, pass rusher, tight end, offensive tackle, and receiver. Based on what we've seen so far from these guys and the guys that we expect to be on the roster this year, could you possibly see one of these or all these or some of these positions being filled by a real legitimate playmaker? A real legitimate playmaker, difference maker.
Based on guys they have on the roster?
Based on what they see right now. Do you see the potential?
For which positions are you asking me about?
Name them. All right, I'll start with cornerback, other than PS2. Well, now, you know what? We got him. We'll actually, you know what? Let's actually...
I feel like you're just asking me a really general question.
It's general, but I'm asking you to kind of project a little bit, okay? Do you see them having a difference maker at edge? They certainly have a lot of options. Jonah Ellis, Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito, Baron Browning. They got options. They got numbers. All you need is one of them to really develop into a stud. Do you see the potential?
For a game wrecker at edge?
Game wrecker.
No. But I think they have a really deep edge group right now that I'm higher on than I have been in probably the better part of the last 4 years at least. I love what Jonah Ellis has done early. He looks early like one of the steals of the draft. Yep. He looks really good. Nick Benito was the most pleasant surprise of last year. After his rookie year, I thought that was going to be a huge whiff. He came back, and he has gotten stronger as he needed to. He needed to prove that he can set an edge. He's done that, right? Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper, huge years for them. I think Jonathan Cooper's maxed out. I mean, he was a 7th-round pick. You got 8.5 sacks out of him last year. But Baron Browning, I mean, that's the guy that you would say, hey, we need to see way more. He has maybe flashed like that, but I wouldn't say he's a game wrecker.
No, there were practices, though, watching him where he was unblockable. He was going up against Bowles, then he'd go to the other side, he'd go up against McGlinchey, and he was making them both look silly. And so if you're looking at the potential, but at least for now, I think that's going to be one of those strength in numbers type thing.
100%. It's by committee.
Hey, edge rusher by committee.
I'm fine with it. They got good depth.
I'll go with that, and let's see what happens out of that. Tight end.
Oh, absolutely not.
No?
A real difference maker? Not on the roster.
Really?
No.
I think Dulcich.
He can't block.
Who cares? Oh, don't tell me.
Sean Payton.
No, Sean actually came out earlier in camp and said, yeah, you like your tight end to block, but it's not exactly a must-have. God, are you like Stink?
That's not what he meant by that, though. He meant that he's just not going to constantly put him in a position where he's set up to fail.
Okay.
If this is all he's good at, we're going to use him as a specialized player. But for a Sean Payton offense, that's why Adam Troutman's going to start. That's why Lucas Kroll's going to play more in line than Dulcich will.
So you're like Mark, huh?
What do you mean?
You're of that tight end must block. Tight end must be good in running game or else.
Sean Payton literally cut Alberto for that exact reason at the end of last year.
Alberto wasn't even that.
What's the difference? You see that big of a difference between Dulcich and Alberto?
Yes. Yeah, I think Dulcich can be a more impactful tight end. But this is
that's
more
all projection.
But this is more about the idea of what you want in a tight end. So
right.
you're telling me that you want tight ends that block, that's important to you?
Yeah.
Julia, we're still waiting for Julius Thomas to throw a block. Who cares? He caught 24 touchdown passes in 2 years from Peyton Manning. That's all I care about.
See, but you didn't ask me whether or not Dulcich can be effective. Dulcich can be absolutely effective. He's just not going to get utilized like that. His snap count isn't going to be like that. That's part of the reason why he struggled on top of health. But I will say he profiles to have some potential if you use him the right way. And I think this year is going to be a good test of that to see if, A, he can stay on the field, and B, he can develop some chemistry with Bo Nix. Dulcich has had a good camp. But, Mike, you're asking if I think he can be a legitimate game changer?
All right, let me give you this.
I don't think so.
Let me give you this. All right, if you could tell me right now, and it's a major if, of course. As Stink likes to say, hamstrings tighter than mouse nuts. So, but if you can tell me right now that
Who's
Greg
stealing
Dulcich,
from who now?
Well, I think I've earned a couple.
It's a
if
get
let's say Dulcich plays 16 games, he is healthy for 16 games. What do you think his stat line looks like at the end of the season for catches, yards, and touchdowns? 16 games of good health. He is out there 100%.
Maybe like 403 touchdowns. I'd give him
403 touchdowns. That'd be a record.
As like a ceiling.
That'd be a record.
As like a ceiling. Record for what?
You said 403 touchdowns.
Oh, not in one game. I meant as a season.
403 touchdowns?
Oh, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Oh, okay. I was
Struggling.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be kind of a story.
Be a sick year.
If that happened.
Not a game changer, though.
Hey, go sign him up for your fantasy team.
That's
right away. So 400 yards and 3 touchdowns?
As
and
like a ceiling.
And what, 30 catches?
Sure, maybe 35, something like that.
I think if he's out there for 16 games, you're looking at 60 catches, 750 yards.
Wager, please.
5 touchdowns.
Please, we'll figure something out.
Okay, but based on, there has to be a certain number of games.
Fine. You set the parameters.
Okay.
If it's anything in that neighborhood,
All right.
I got no problem.
Fine, we'll do that. And you just wait until Nolan Jones gets hot.
Week 1.
Well, okay. Yes, I put the proviso out there, assuming good health and that. But
I would love to see it happen.
I guess what I'm saying is that when I look at Dulcich, there are a lot of players that you try to project what they can do, and you're just automatically assuming good health, and you have questions about what they can do, assuming they're going to be, or even expecting them to be healthy. With Dulcich, to me, the only issue with him is health. If he's healthy, I think he's going to produce.
But it's also that he can't play in every situation.
He
just won't be on the field as much to have 750 yards.
Well, I don't know.
How many touchdowns did you say?
5. If you start establishing yourself as a pass-catching threat as a tight end, and what this league has shown, their inability, the league has not yet figured out how to defend pass-catching tight ends, difference-making tight ends. They haven't figured it out. We just haven't seen one of these specimens around here for a long time. I mean, honestly, the last time they had a real difference maker at the tight end position.
How many tight ends last year alone had
Julius
750
Thomas?
and 5 touchdowns? I'm going to guess it's like 3. Maybe.
I'll take a look.
Okay, I will.
You take a look.
That's a really big number, though. At least to my ears.
Assuming 16 games.
I hear you. I think I would be surprised if many had much more
16 games
than
is
that.
That's only averaging what, 3.5 catches per game?
To have what, 60 catches?
60 catches?
Let me look it up. I'll get back to you.
You can look it up. This is KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. As we roll into the 8 o'clock hour, so just to kind of bring you up to date with everything that's going on, Matt Smith's sitting in here. If you haven't heard yet, Stink's got himself a really exciting opportunity. He's moved to New York. He's doing a national TV show, kind of a, talk show, one of those hot take TV shows.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be hot take.
He's the new Skip Bayless, Stephen A., all those kind of guys. Nick Wright. I wonder who Stink's motivation is going to be.
Oh, I think it's pretty clear based upon what we saw yesterday.
Is it Stephen A., Skip, or Nick Wright?
Might be Mike Evans. No, yesterday.
For some reason, they have Stink hosting this show, which is curious.
They're pushing the reputation of him being a show pony to its limit. They're testing it out.
Yeah,
how much can you really?
There's
carry
many
this
thing?
thing?
Mark can do. Hosting a show, I'm not really sure about that one. But anyway,
this isn't a celebrity golf tournament or anything.
But he's going to be. He's doing that show, and it's going to be regular time slot. It's going to be 6 to 8 a.m. our time, Mountain Time. Right now, this week, they're filling in with the Colin Cowherd shift. So he's doing a show a little bit later in the day. So that's why he's not with us today. But when he resumes his regular schedule next week, he's going to be on with us every day between 8 and 10. So we look forward to that. But in the meantime, Matt Smith here with me. We're having a good time. I want to get to a text that we got in reaction. Will Peterson wrote an article at denversports.com about Tim Patrick being effectively traded or let go. We'll see what happens. And we got this on the RamosLoud.com text line. Will Peterson's soft article suggests that Tim Patrick got a raw deal. Well, you know who got a raw deal way before Tim did? The Broncos, when they signed him to a $34 million deal only to see him sit out 2 whole seasons and still get paid every dollar. Stop the whining and realize this is a business, not a family reunion.
I like that. By the way, the answer on the tight end, only 5 tight ends last year had 750 yards and 5 touchdowns. So what you're saying is if he's healthy for 16 games, you think Greg Dulcich is a top 5 tight end in the NFL. That's what that number would be, which is why I say wait.
All right, I might like to amend that number.
Okay. All right.
I got a little bit.
You see 6? Which ones? Kelsey, Kittle,
Kelsey, Hawkinson, Laporta, Njoku.
Really?
Ferguson.
That's it for 750 yards from the tight end position? That's it?
750 plus 5 touchdowns.
Plus 5 All right, how about just 750?
It would be 7 then.
7? Can he
8.
be it? 8?
You got 8 because of
8
Njoku.
Ferguson, Trey McBride,
Yeah.
David Njoku, Sam Laporta, Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, Travis Kelsey, George Kittle.
Okay, when you start taking some of those names now,
So top 10 tight end in the NFL.
I think he could. Yeah. Whenever he has played, has he flashed?
Occasionally.
When he's played, has he flashed? Yes.
He's had a couple of moments, yes.
But, well, a couple. He's only played in a couple games because he's always been hurt.
So yes,
Yeah.
if that's the answer.
I think this is a guy that, if he's healthy, somebody said,
Top 10 tight
why
end.
not 17 games? Well, yeah, I mean, that's really shooting
It's a
the moon.
good job.
That's why I'm going
Texter.
with 16.
Good job, Texter.
If he plays 16 games, if you're telling me Greg Dulcich is healthy for 16 games, can he be a top 10 tight end? Yes, I believe it.
Cut it up as a promo.
Well, wait a minute. Where was Greg Dulcich drafted? What round was he drafted?
3rd round out of UCLA.
3rd round. Okay. You expert, investigative journalists over here going and finding all the numbers. All those tight ends you just
You mean
mentioned.
guys who have access to Google.
Well, they're doing it right now. Go find out all those tight ends that you just mentioned and basically tell me where they were all drafted. Because you know what you're going to find? They were all drafted pretty much rounds 2 through 4 or 5.
What's your point?
My point is that Greg Dulcich it's not like he was drafted or like he's some undrafted free agent or he's a 7th round pick. He was drafted right in that sweet spot where most of the top tight ends in the game were drafted.
I feel very comfortable with my 400 yards, 3 touchdowns prediction.
For 16 games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.